Hello and welcome back to Pure Michigan Sports. This is episode 31. I think it's 31. Christian Beckdimit and Alex Daimel bringing you all of the new sports news across the state of Michigan. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. And no matter who you are, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, ignore my computer's noises, and please go subscribe. Super easy way to help the channel. Takes 2 seconds. If you're listening, in podcast form,
I heard a rumor that the more subscriptions we get, the more likely David Montgomery comes back and plays. So
we were talking about that pre-show. There's potentially a second opinion or something standing in between Monty and being done for the season.
But if you don't subscribe, he will not come back.
That's true. That is how that works. Monty told me himself. We can start there. There is plenty to talk about in the Michigan sports scene, as there always is. Michigan men's and women's basketball continue to roll, despite the fact that the men are physically incapable of not turning the basketball over. We'll talk about that later. The Pistons won a wild one last night. We'll talk about that. The Red Wings, despite their best efforts, have actually won 2 out of 3, their last 3, including a shootout dub.
Defensive scoring somehow, some way.
Crazy. So we'll talk about that, and we will also talk about what we're going to hit right now, which is the fact that the Lions are bleeding players like they're going out of business. I mean, it is ridiculous. If you've listened to the show in the past, obviously we talk about all the teams every week, so we update you as things go on. And the last few weeks, if you've listened to this show, you've heard us say, I don't think people realize how many dudes we've truly lost. How many guys are actually on IR, and it's stacked up even more this week. Carlton Davis, broken jaw, done for the year. Aleem McNeil, torn ACL, done for the year. Those are probably your 2 best players in terms of your best corner and your best D lineman remaining. They're done now. And then Monty, torn MCL, potentially done for the year. So things continue to stack up poorly. And then they broke the winning streak with a loss against Buffalo as well. So not the best week. I know we're starting the show on a negative part here of Michigan sports, but not a great week for Lions.
Not a great week. And I think it's important to recognize the fact that it's not a great week because the team played. It's not a bad week because the team played poorly. This is an incredible. Josh Allen just, I think, secured the MVP award with that, the last 2-3 weeks. The guy has been on fire. He is an incredible quarterback, incredible athlete. Especially considering the talent around him is not what he's had in the past. This is a Bills team that consistently puts up huge numbers, and this is just, a few miscues and a few questionable calls didn't get the job done. It's unfortunate considering how tight this NFC playoff race is, especially considering how tight they're going to have to play wall to wall in order to keep that number 1 playoff spot, considering the Eagles are now 12-2. This is still a very competitive football team. A very competitive football team. And if you look, what gave me some hope is there was I think the Get Up or one of those ESPN shows did. They had the awful list of every single player on the Lions IR. And for the amount of people that are on the injured list, only 4 of them are out for the year. Now, 4 people being out for the year is a lot. But the fact that there's a chance that we could get a decent amount of these guys back by playoffs.
It doesn't actually, though? That's the thing, is some of them done for the season, like Hutch, not done for the year, only because everyone puts a little asterisk that maybe he'll be back for the Super Bowl. There's a difference between that and we won't actually get them back ever. You know what I'm saying? Because Hutch is done. realistically, he's done for the season. If he comes back, it'll be for one game that we might not get to. I think that's a lot of these same guys, right? David Bada, he's done. Kaminsky, he's done. Rankenstraw might come back, but
I know Regenstrom might come back. They're talking like Anzalone could.
yes, Anzalone could, especially if we get that bye.
That'd be huge. That would be huge. Let's see what else we got on here. Did they say Raymond was done?
I believe so. That's the problem, dude. Is a lot of these guys. We'll hit you with the list real quick. I'm sure you've heard it a lot, but over the last few weeks, we've told you Lions can't lose any more players. It can't get any worse, and it's continued to get worse to the point where we now have 16 players on injured reserve just on the defensive side of the ball. We told you that Aleem McNeil, Carlton Davis added their names to the list. They joined Dorsey, Mekhi Wingo, Malcolm Rodriguez, Rankstraw, Melifonwu, Anzalone, Reeves-Maben, Hutch, Pecco, Derek Barnes, Marcus Davenport, David Bada, Kaminsky, and Nate Lynn. I mean, that's the entire defense. You're essentially left, and I am not exaggerating.
Hey, you left Michael Bagley off of that roster, you asshole.
I said defense. How dare
you forget
that was 16. That was 16 on defense.
Or anything.
that was defense. We realistically have, Lions fans, follow along with me in the comments if I'm missing anyone here, our two safeties, Tyrion and DJ Reader. Are those the only day one starters left?
Oh, you're talking about guys that are still there.
Day one starters left. Is that it? Kirby, Branch, yes. DJ Reader, Tyrion Arnold.
That's true. I do think you can factor. I don't think that Zadarius Smith needs to be considered a replacement necessarily because he is playing. He wasn't playing,
starting caliber ball
against the Bills, but he's comparable to that first string.
Sure, no, I'm with you there.
What really does suck though is what did we just sign McNeil to? 4 years, $97 million,
and he was playing great.
He's playing it. He was a dog this year. He was absolutely balling out, and the NFL, I feel like, is one of those weird ones where when you're in a situation like the Lions, it is very, very difficult to have. You have to have a next man up mentality in any sport. But can you really, as a fan of an NFL team, where you're at the point where the differentiation between first and second string is still there? I wouldn't argue as much as college, but it's still there.
That's a big stat in the NBA. I know you're not as big of an NBA guy, but that's a massive new stat is VORP, value over replacement player. It's massive, obviously, in the NFL, and all credit to MCDC and to the coaching staff and their ability to keep hammering that next man up mentality. But let's be totally objective and real here. The only reason that pro football teams and college teams, all the like, have that mentality is because they have to. Because they don't have the luxury of sitting here as fans, separated from the organization itself, to say, hey, we suck now. We don't have the talent we did anymore, so we're probably screwed. You can't sit in front of a group of pros and tell them that. They may know that, but you can't tell them that. And I think that's part of the issue here, is that it just sucks. It just sucks. Whoever the Lions' strength coach is, their conditioning guy, probably won't have a job after this season.
What the hell?
But it's not necessarily anyone's fault. It just sucks.
Can you imagine being that guy right now?
I can. I think I'm preparing my resume. I think I'm currently asking who on the Lions roster is willing to give me a good reference for when the Saints try to pick me up 3 months from now. I think that as much as you can hem and you can haw and you can say maybe we'll get Anzalone back, hopefully we can get the bye, hopefully we can squeak by the Vikings. This is about to be a tough take right here that I'm going to give out, but I stand by it. I've said in recent weeks, Lions fans, not time to hit the panic button yet. Find out where it is. Line up the button. Get it. Get ready.
Don't tell me you pressed it.
Detroit fans, it's time to press the panic button.
No,
It
dude.
This is a season that was uber important because you have a very real opportunity for both of your coordinators to be gone after this season. Does that instantly take you from Super Bowl caliber to borderline playoffs? Obviously not. But Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn are a big reason we've talked all season about why the team is where it is. This year was important. It was significant. I'm not saying that Ben and AG are both gone, but it's probably going to happen. They're both going to get head coaching looks. This was a season that was important to do something with. You physically don't have enough. You may still make it to the Super Bowl because the NFC is weak. It's top heavy. It's you, the Vikings, and the Eagles, and there's no other team in that same breath as you. And that's a huge blessing. Even if we have to play road playoff games, I think this is a team gritty enough to beat either the Eagles or the Vikings. Realistically, we probably won't have to play both. But once you get there, are we on the level anymore of the Chiefs, of the Bills, maybe of the Ravens, throw them in there, of the Steelers? I don't know. Clearly, we're not at the level of the Bills because anyone that actually watched that game knows that the 6-point difference really was, that was garbage time buckets, if anything. And I know that onside kick at the end almost got us there. But Detroit had to be basically perfect down the stretch offensively. And I think that's your trouble, is that you're left in a situation where, especially without Monty now, you have to throw a perfect game offensively every time. And I know I'm flipping this for baseball, but you're not going to get any run support. Your defense is not going to give you anything. You need, and I guess to flip the analogy, you're going to need to hit a nuke every at bat because you're throwing meatballs over the plate right now.
Well, there is also a chance. There's a possible chance now that the Lions do face the Atlanta Falcons, who are not eliminated from contention, and in that would be facing, as of 2 minutes ago, starting quarterback Michael Penix Jr.
That's new? Oh,
Brand
shit.
new.
Breaking news.
Not that we're an Atlanta sports show. We're the
No, but that's big.
show, but shit. And here's what I will say.
Shout out my fantasy quarterback. Damn it, dude. I'm in a 2-quarterback league, to be fair, but still. Damn it.
Having a perfectly, you aren't going to be able to rely on perfect offense. Now, you've got 3 games coming up. You've got a game against a Chicago Bears team that, if it is a 3-point margin again, I think I will lose my mind. I don't care if we have no one on defense. That is an incompetent offense. That is a completely incompetent offense. That game should not be nearly as close.
Continuing the trend of talking about teams that we don't actually talk about, got to feel bad for Caleb Williams, right? Side note, that tough situation for him.
I said he was a bust from the beginning. I don't feel bad I don't feel bad for him for a second. You know what?
That O-line is actively
go
trying to
sit on the
murder him.
bench while your team is losing and be a bad teammate any longer. I could not. That guy.
All right, let's be fair.
And
that offensive line is
Bears, like,
that offensive line is actively attempting to end his life. Let's be totally fair.
Great. End is great.
Sorry, side note. Keep going.
But here's the thing. I think, again, Dan Campbell did what Dan Campbell does today, and he got on a radio show and was basically like, everybody needs to stop freaking out. It was a loss. And I do agree with him. Like, we lost to a very, very talented Bills team. There was a reason a lot of people were picking the Bills to win that game, is because Josh Allen has been on a roll. If there's any defense that was going to be able to step up to them, it was us. Not that we didn't put 42 points on them, but they tore us up offensively. Had to deal. Ty Johnson was even getting some reps. It was what it was. We're not going to face the Bills next week. Well, this will be a team. This will be a good test for a backup or mostly reserve defensive team. It'll be time to get something in order. And at the end of the day, yes, having that bye week would be great. Having the 1 seed would be amazing. The playoffs are not decided by who's the 1 seed. The playoffs are decided by wins and who can come down to and who can figure it out in the clutch. I do think that Dan Campbell's motto and philosophy will get us there before anything else will. And at the end of the day, like, win the division or lose the division, we clinched the playoffs. You'd love to have that division. You'd love to have that 1 seed. You'd love to not have to worry about, having that easiest streak possible, right? At the end of the day, that's not something I feel like as a fan you can really worry about, because it's whether you get the 7th-seeded team in the NFC or the 2nd-seeded team in the NFC, you're going to have to find a way to win with this defense.
That's true. That's true. We will have to win eventually. We will have to hold a team below 40 points eventually, and that's true. And I love Dan Campbell's mottos and words as much as the next guy. That's true too, but words only get you so far. And the fewer games we have to throw this defense out in front of a playoff caliber offense, the better. And the more time we have to rest these guys, the better. I also frankly think that apart from the win-loss category, apart from the division, apart from the 1 seed, losing your season finale to the Vikings and then potentially a few weeks later having to go to Minnesota to play them can cause a problem between the ears. I think that's a mindset thing where if you drop that game to a rolling Vikings crew that continues to get better, particularly offensively, I'm not saying that's an end-all be-all, and I know I'm sort of playing the negative asshole today. I think that will have a non-zero impact on the mental game for both us and the Vikings.
I mean,
do you disagree?
I
think apart from just losing, it hurts you.
I can see why that's an argument. I also, if we're gonna get into like the specifics of like NFL like mentalities, it's like they kicked us 2 weeks ago. That makes us want to kick them even more.
Maybe.
Like I think it's revenge is best served cold, and whether that's a win or loss at the end of the season, it's not going to be a win or loss that matters, because we will see them in the playoffs.
That's true. I get your point. At the end of the day, we're in the playoffs. We have a ticket. That's all you need. But we talked about it, with last year's Kansas City team and the Chiefs. It's not about the best team. It's about the team playing best at that time. How you play down the stretch of this season absolutely matters. And hopefully the Lions can get their shit together.
6.5
especially
spread
on the
without
defensive side of the ball.
6.5 point spread.
Is that against Chicago?
Yeah.
I'll take that, dude. I still think we're going to kill Chicago. And I remember that when I'm critiquing the Lions and saying it's time to hit the panic button and all this crap, it's all relative, right? When I talk about the Pistons playing really well, it's relative because we're 6 games below 500. When I talk about the Lions, being shit out of luck, it's on the relative scale of trying to win a Super Bowl. The nitty-gritty, itty-bitty shit up at the top that separates you from the Bills, from the Eagles, from the Chiefs. That's all I'm saying. I think we're still chill against the Chicagos of the world, and hopefully that is the case.
Well, I mean, relativity. The boys in blue were rolling, and then ran clean into Arkansas.
Now, I'm not sure how much of this game you watched, but I know we were texting back and forth about it. And this Michigan team was, we were raving about them. And I think deservedly so the last few weeks. And I think this is probably closer to, I think that Dan Campbell's speech about eating filet and now having to take your moldy bread, I think that more applies to this squad. Because what Detroit did with the loss against the Bills was largely uncontrollable. You're just shit out of luck because you got no defensive players left. None at all. Michigan, I think, gets high on its britches and high on its horse and says, we're the number 14 team in the country. I'm going to throw the sick-ass fucking behind the back pass right now. And it goes 8 rows into the stands. I mean, it's the I think I texted almost word for word this to you after the Michigan loss. So we got newly minted number 14 team, turnaround, Jimmy V Classic, lose in epic fashion to the Arkansas Razorbacks, who granted are a very good team, excellent defensively. I'm not saying these turnovers were unforced, but I'm not saying all of the turnovers were unforced, but a number of them were. Down the stretch of this ball game, it became back and forth, trading buckets, thin margin of error, much like Lions Bills. And there was a long stretch where Michigan went back to, this is that analogy I sent you, Alex, back to turning the ball over like it was a drug, like this team is addicted, and this was a team early in the year that refused to play safe with the basketball. And then we got better. We started taking care of it. And boop, boop, boop. Up we go. Up in the rankings, winning these games. Everybody's balling. Danny Wolf's, an all-American type kid. And then back to turning the ball over like you're in remission. Like you were 2 weeks into 2 weeks off of alcohol and you said, let me just have this one drink. And you turn the ball over something like 5 straight times down the clutch stretch of a must-win basketball game. And I just called it must-win. It's absolutely not must-win. I think that's the thing to remember with this team. Still 8-2 even after that. You're chilling. It's not that big a deal. It's a mid-season loss to a good team. But damn it, dude, we get sloppy with this basketball.
It's once and the biggest issue with turnovers, especially in college basketball, is all it takes is 1 to 2, and a team is going to feed off of that for a 10-0 run, a 14-0 run, and that's exactly what Arkansas did in the second half. And it's great to have the consistency like they have in the first half, but if you look, I'm looking at this. I don't even know what you would call it, like the game flow chart on ESPN.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you can see it because I know everything looks white, but look at where, towards the end, that massive gap right here. Hold on. Right there. Mm-hmm. That gap is huge in the second half. And that is their turnovers are the one thing that's going to cause that. It's not like this team can't shoot. It's not like this team can't play defense. It's not like they can't grab a rebound. They just need to learn to pass more efficiently and have better control of the ball. And that is where I feel like, as big of an issue as that can be, I'd rather have that than something like the Pistons where the problems are endless.
Yeah.
The problems are endless.
It's that relative scale, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Michigan's it's all about relativity. It used to not be all about relativity. I'm glad it's relativity now. Just in the state of Michigan in general. But I do think this is a solid team that Dusty May has put together. I think it's pretty clear we'll make the tournament. The Big Ten tournament, I think, is completely up for grabs this year. Last I checked, Michigan was the favorite to win.
Wonder if that's still the case after this loss. I don't know.
It could be, but I think right now, Purdue hasn't been playing perfect basketball. I know.
I'll be real. Michigan State is a good squad. That'll be an interesting matchup when
Michigan
we
State
play.
Also a very good squad. People forget this was the number 4 team in the country last year, and the problem was they were all freshmen.
Yeah.
So they were going to have some growing pains, but this is a team with some dogs. I know Jeremy Fears is insane. I got to watch them when they played our boys last year in exhibition. Like these are some tough dudes.
Yeah,
So that I mean, you can talk all you want about Michigan State football. Michigan State basketball is one of the best rivalry games in college sports.
it's true. And
Or,
this
I don't even know if
season,
I'm gonna say best, but underrated. Every February, that is the number one thing both schools get to look forward to. You think back to the Mo Wagner days when the the state student sections. I'm not going to repeat what they were saying because it was pretty shitty, but they're chanting horrible shit at him, and he just dunks on him. He went off and had a game. Same thing with Fron. You think back to Trey Burke days. You think all the way back to the Kalen Lucas of MSU days. This game, this rivalry, these two games have been almost a benchmark for the season for either team every single year. So definitely look out for that as both teams have been playing really well.
you may well have two top 15 teams playing each other in that rivalry. And on top of that, you probably will have Big Ten title implications in there as well, or at least important Big Ten tournament seeding implications too.
In a few months we'll just dun, 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 dun,
Hey, you got your chance to play the Michigan fight song after we beat OSU this year. Hopefully we'll get a chance to do that again. That'll certainly be a good squad. Before we jump away from Michigan, I think it's just got to be a weekly installment at this point. We got to shout out the women too.
Holy shit!
Yeah. I know that a lot of people on this show realistically probably don't watch women's college ball. Add Michigan to the list, dude. The lady, I don't know if they love Lady Wolverines. I know some teams like it, some teams don't, having like the lady or the at.
I know it was Detroit Mercy, but they hang 100 on them.
Hung 100 on them and looked damn good doing it. This is a
you at,
great basketball team. Yeah, we did what Ryan Day couldn't in 4 years. We did it in one. I got something for you. I think I texted this to you, and I think we didn't mention it last week, but now 6 weeks have gone by. But there was a point last week where 5 weeks into the season, 4 of the Big Ten Freshman of the Week awards went to a Wolverine. Insane. Insane.
And obviously, you look at this. You say that 4 or 5 years ago. That's sick. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Now with the transfer portal, that makes me a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie, but
that's so fair.
Still, like the fact that players that are this young are having this much of an impact. Winners want to come to Michigan.
And the craziest part
is, how long has it been since we could truly say that across the board?
True. Certainly not on the men's side for the last few years. We could say that for football.
We could say that for both basketballs. We've been able to say it for hockey for a long time. We produce more NHLers than anyone else. I say we like I'm a graduate. Not.
Throw the pads on, brother.
No kidding. I do want to say, quick little rest in peace. Your darling boy, your favorite in the entire world. I don't know that you're going to be able to watch Michigan football anymore because Alex Orji did enter the transfer portal. Best of luck to the man.
Dude.
I think he's not. We gave him shit for being a non-quarterback. Yeah. I think he could be an incredible football player.
Oh yeah. Put him at running back, dude. Let him do what Taysom Hill does. Put him at linebacker. He can't throw a football, that's fine. We've been extremely critical of him for his physical incapability of doing that. It's a disease. Why are we critiquing him? For the longest time in America, addiction was talked about this horrible thing that made you lesser than, and now it's become accepted, right? Now it's become like, you are addicted to alcohol, you have a disease, you have an issue, we're going to check you in. We should not be making fun of Alex for his physical incapability. We should just say, it's okay, buddy, we'll put you somewhere you can shine. Quit forcing him to throw a forward pass. He can't do it. Put him at running back, put him at tight end, throw a couple little scat back jack of all trade things in where he does a Taysom Hill and throws 2 passes a game. let him be what he is best at, and that's versatile. And I know I just talked a bunch of subconscious shit at him there, but all the best. I mean, realistically, he can probably be a high-level dual threat that focuses mostly on running at like a mid-major somewhere, right?
And
Like he absolutely has that
absolutely.
talent.
And realistically, as much shit as we gave him for this season, he had that great run against OSU.
Mm.
He had a few great plays against Alabama that were huge for us in that Rose Bowl game. His contribution was not nothing.
Don't forget the USC game, which I know now means nothing, but at the time that was a massive ranked win. And what was the thing with Davis Warren was Orgy can't throw a forward pass. Davis Warren can't not turn the ball over. What did we need out of Orgy when we started him against USC was don't put the defense on short fields, don't turn the football over, be safe, convert on third downs. He did everything but that last thing. Obviously, the forward passing couldn't convert third downs, but he was great in that game. He did basically all that we asked of him. All jokes aside, best of luck to the kid. I hope he finds a program that utilizes him the right way.
Unless it's Ohio State.
Unless it's Ohio State. Then he can rot on the bench or something.
I mean, speaking of, do we want to talk about it just because I get so much joy out of shitting on them for being a pathetic joke of an organization?
Talking about the flag planning? Or did we talk about
not even that, but try to put yourself in the shoes of an Ohio State fan real quick. Do your best to put yourself in that hell.
It's hard. Okay.
Are you rooting for a win this Saturday?
You know what? I hadn't thought about that. Alex, that is a great point. Do you want a win right now?
I want him to win. I might even wear red. Because the higher chance that I can have of that fraudulent asshole being back in Ann Arbor next year just to lose a fifth straight time would make me the happiest man alive. Happiest man alive. Hang 100, you couldn't hang 20 in 4 seasons. 4 years, couldn't hang 20.
I had not even thought of this. I'll be totally real. But again, you're right. But all jokes aside,
4 years couldn't hang 100. I don't know why I said 4 years can't hang 20, but he couldn't hang 100 in 4 years.
Let's be totally objective with this here. There are probably Ohio State fans who, in the best interest of the program, want a loss because they think he's that bad. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that when you have a guy of that caliber, think about the talent on that roster. Because we've talked about the issue really largely being coaching. That's still a roster that can win a national championship.
As much as it pains me to say it, you've got some weapons on that team. I mean, Caleb Love,
some of the best in the country.
It's a $20 million roster.
Yeah.
It's $20 million roster.
It is worth every penny. Maybe they should have put more money or in a different spot on coaching. Obviously, that's the case. But I think if you're an OSU fan, you still cheer for a win because you have to.
You have to. And I do kid it that like I'm rooting for a win because I want Ryan Day to be stuck there, and I don't want to see who they bring in next. But it's one of those things where is your recruitment, I guess, political power, as we've talked about. Obviously, Sharona has gained a ton, not only with that win, but with Bryce Underwood signing. You know,
how much is that him versus money? But that's a different
speaking
discussion.
of, there are rumors that Justice Haynes is looking at Michigan. In fact, I think he's scheduled to make a visit. That would fill in the running back role incredibly well. The guy would have been an absolute beast at Alabama if they actually utilized the running game at all. Kalen DeBoer only wanted to throw to his 17-year-old wide receiver. It's not like he's good or anything. But Justice Haynes would be an incredible get. I mean, we're talking about building a roster here. And as much as you and I have talked about how that's not what college football used to be and that it's not what we necessarily loved it to be, I'm I'm never going to complain about talent coming to Michigan.
You got to
And
buy in. It's the way of the world now, right?
exactly. And I think it's one of those things where I think whether Day stays or goes, we're we are building not a talent level, but a program that can rival what Ohio State has been the past few years.
Yeah.
And that is a you can have your opinion on it. That is a benefit of NIL for college football teams of Michigan's caliber. It's not a benefit for Group of Five programs who unfortunately are going to lose a lot of that funding and lose a lot of that competitive advantage. But for teams like Michigan who have the history and have the money, bring it on.
That's been our opinion. Obviously, if you listen to the show for a long time, of it sucks. We don't like the way the world is working right now in college football. But Michigan is a program in a college, a university, that can take full advantage of it. Don't begrudge them their opportunities. Does it suck that these kids are getting thrown around massive amounts of money and essentially ruining the game we love? Sure. But don't begrudge them the opportunity to go get that fucking bag, dude, because come on. Wouldn't you if you were in their shoes?
I ain't saying no. I do know you'll probably want to run with some Pistons. I do want to just mention one quick thing about the Wings. Obviously, you talked about they've won their 2 out of their last 3.
Yes, sir.
Would have been Saturday night at home against the Maple Leafs.
Mm.
If you would have told me that, I think it was 3 out of their 4 goals would have been scored by defensemen. Not only that, but 2 of them being Jeff fucking Petrie. I honestly, there's no, if I would have, and I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say. That was I've talked about the defense needing to step up. I did not think it was along the lines of we needed them to start scoring more. What the hell? And I get that's one game, but that was incredible against obviously a very, very talented Leafs roster that obviously hockey fans know over the past year loves to get up here and then crash. And you're gonna let in your Matthews goals. I mean, Ville Husso got the job done. A guy that's been incredibly inconsistent in goal the past few years, especially while Cam Talbot is out. And I believe they sent Sebastian Kosa back down to the Griffins, give him more time to develop. It's good to see only allowing 2 goals to a very, very talented Maple Leafs team.
That's what I was going to ask about. Was super cool and a nice headline to see the defenseman show you all that offense, but you also hold the Leafs to only 2 goals. Is this any sign of obviously it's a good game, a good performance defensively? Are you seeing any signs of life? Obviously, you gave up for a few nights before.
I think it's a sign of life in the sense that it was also only 2 penalties, especially for a team that cannot afford to give up penalties.
We're still dead last.
2 was a step up. It was another step in the process of getting back to where this team, to where people know that this team has the talent to go. Again, I'm glad I haven't been seeing too many, questions or rumors about Lalonde leaving. I think that's a dumb idea right now. I don't love the idea of coaches changing midstream. I know the Bruins did that with Jim Montgomery, and so did the Blues with then bringing him on. I think you've got a system going, let it flow. I'm not really a fan of firing a coach in the middle of any season unless it's the situation calls for it out off the court or off the field or off the rink for this matter. So I'm glad to see those have simmered down. Obviously, you've got the Flyers tomorrow, and then the
second
Canadiens
time in a week, right?
The Canadiens in back-to-back home and home. We host Montreal on Friday, then fly there on Saturday. I think there's a potential for a little bit of a win streak here. The Canadiens have been pounding on offense, but so have we. If we can contain Cole Caulfield, I think we get both of those games, home and away. And And I think things could start looking up back into December, early November. You get back in a little bit of that wild card race. But you got to stay consistent. You got to keep the penalties at a minimum. You got to get a lot of shots on net, and just again, especially defensive penalties. You can keep 5 guys on the ice. I think things will be fine.
That's fair. Speaking of consistency, on the court, Detroit has had just as much trouble as on the ice. The Pistons last night, if anyone watched this game, super dope. Everyone is going to see the highlight of Jimmy scoring a clutch bucket without his own shoe on. They're not probably going to see, but they might, the Cade game winner, and they may just see those 3-in-a-row dagger triples from Tim Hardaway Jr. to basically win the game. I know Cade had
Is it not incredible having that boy play just in the state of Michigan again?
And his pops lives in the area now full time. So he's at every game. Every time he hits a shot or throws a turnover, and he did both in the last minute, they pan right to Timmy Sr., dude. It's so funny. Put a camera right on him. But yeah, dude, hometown kid hooping for your hometown team.
Beasley, 28 burger?
28 burger. And he's, honestly, I love that you brought him up because he encapsulates exactly what I felt for this whole game, which is fucking confused. If anyone watched this whole Pistons versus Heat game,
that's not at all where I thought you were going with it. I was like, yeah, it's probably like a great feeling or a really negative feeling. No, you hit me right down the middle.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Confused.
Sinker, baby. See, the Pistons,
holy hell.
If you watched this game, and I know that it's hard to watch a full Pistons game these days because, golly, the script writers are doing us dirty, putting us on roller coasters. The Pistons were murdering the Heat, put them in the grave, to the point where I'm on the phone with my brother at the same time that I'm watching this game. And it's like middle of the fourth quarter, and I literally said the words, almost an exact quote, "This is a really good win for the Pistons right now." Because we were up like 17 with like 5 minutes left. And then we go to overtime with this same team because this team is so incapable of staying consistent down the stretch. And it's not like Michigan basketball where you just suddenly start whipping the ball into the third row and throwing it directly to the other team and all of these sort of like freshman style heady mistakes. It just sort of collapses. Like it adds one thing onto another. So like Malik torched the Heat for 3.5 quarters. And then he threw up bricks. I mean enough to build a shit house. He missed like 5 straight threes in the last 3 minutes of this game. And thank the good Lord that we don't have Monty Williams at the helm anymore, because he would have kept feeding that motherfucker the basketball. Instead, we have JB now, who was more than willing to. I don't know if Malik technically went to the bench in those final moments or just sort of sat in the corner, but it was clear that there was a coaching decision after a timeout. Stop throwing him the damn basketball. Instead, it went to Timmy Hardaway, and he hit 3 dagger threes in a row that were massive in this game. So I think in that way, Malik Beasley is awesome, is probably my second favorite Piston on this squad outside of Cade Cunningham. And I know that's a high accolade to throw on the kid, but I love Malik. I love what he's done on the court. I love what he's done off the court for Cade and for the young guys. I think he's been a great vet in all aspects. But what he did last night encapsulates this whole team, which looks really cool for a long time and still finds a way to make you sweat at the end of the game. That being said, Cade with 20 points, a career-high 18 assists, 11 rebounds, his, I think, 7th, or it might be 6th, triple-double of the season. The dude was hooping. The dude was clutch. And, I mean, he was spectacular. He is, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times, and you're going to hear it another million more. He's playing at an all-NBA level. And I think that's really, really cool to see. And I think that sort of wraps up what we've got in terms of hitting every team. We'll fly through every week like this, hop around the mitten, give you the headlines from every team, and I think that it is time for our picks of the week. And if you've been tailing us on these sports bets, probably don't, but bet what you only bet what you can lose.
If you have a problem, call the gambling hotline.
See, you got it. Alex has got it down. Regardless,
I have a problem, I swear.
Of course not. We've got one pick for that involves a Michigan team and one that doesn't. Which one you want to start with?
I'm going out on a limb here. Wait, what did I give out as my pick last week?
Couldn't tell you.
Because I don't want to do it again. Screw it. Because I can't remember if I had given this out as my pick or not. But this is my non-Michigan pick. I am going Indiana money line over Notre Dame.
Ooh,
that money line.
I like that a lot.
That is currently sitting at plus 230. This is a Notre Dame team whose best win is Army.
Yeah, facts. Literally.
This is also a Notre Dame team. Sorry, their best win is technically Louisville. Sorry.
Fair.
Louisville, who is now unranked at 8-4. This is also a Louisville team that lost to Northern Illinois.
A Notre Dame team that lost.
Sorry, Notre Dame team. I think the Will Howard stomping on the cigarette is reverse karma because that is how logic works and this is how life works.
It is.
Indiana money line.
Okay. What's your Michigan pick then?
Oh, Michigan pick. The other one. Yes, because that's totally something I remembered.
It's all right. I got you right now. I've got
Go for
two
it.
Michigan picks, and this is going to substitute my non-Michigan pick here. I can throw a non-Michigan one in there as well. But I'm putting the money where the mouth is now. It feels like every week we've now just got a weekly installment of heaping praise on the woman Wolverines, Lady Wolverines. They're playing the number 10 team in the country tonight, Oklahoma Sooners. Couldn't decide whether to call them the Lady Sooners or not. Oklahoma obviously is favored by 5.5. I've got Michigan plus 5.5. I want to see what these girls can do against tough competition because I think Olivia Olson is playing high level basketball right now. Obviously, Silas Swords is great too. This is an all-around very talented squad. They've got a bunch of different people that can hurt you, but they haven't played a lot of tough competition yet. I know we were talking earlier about U of D Mercy, not meaning that much, but the only real team you've played so far, if you don't count Northwestern, which you probably shouldn't, is South Carolina. And obviously they're the number one team in the country, and you played them super close, but you did lose. So, again, on the relative scale of being a top-ranked team, I think this game shows you a lot about what Michigan can do when they play Oklahoma. I got plus 5.5.
All right. My Michigan pick actually comes to us tomorrow. So when this gets uploaded, if you think Wings Flyers matchups in the past few years, you think goals. I mean, I think it would have been last year. They had a game go that they had the lead. I think they had like a 4-goal lead that then they blew and then had to win in overtime. I want to say the final was like 7-6 or something. And that is why I am taking the under at 6.5 tomorrow. Doing a little reverse on you there.
Yeah, thanks for
and
that.
I normally hate the unders. I'm not an under guy. But this game feels almost so obvious to be an over that I think it's going to go under.
Okay. Reverse psychology on God. That always works. I like it.
It's not. God.
People always say the gambling gods, but,
Gambling gods.
Yeah, but there's only one, so it doesn't really count. So who are you really cheating here? Ourselves,
bingo.
probably.
Bingo.
I've got one other Michigan pick, like I said. I'm probably going to pull an Alex here in reverse. The Pistons keep finding their ways to be in close games, to win by 1, to lose by 2, to be in these tight ball games. So fuck it, Jazz -4.5. Or excuse me, Pistons -4.5 against the Jazz.
I was gonna say,
Nuh-uh. I think the Jazz.
teams.
I think the Jazz are booty cheeks. I think their defense sucks. I think their guard play leaves a lot.
Holy shit, they're
to
5-20.
be
I didn't
desired.
realize they were that
they're
bad.
terrible. I think realistically, you should probably be weary of taking any Pistons spread, like I said, because they always seem to play in close games. But if you're just looking at this game objectively, the Pistons being favored by only 4.5 should be disrespectful, should be seen as, come on, only 4.5. So I'm just going to do that. Pistons -4.5, and I think that wraps it up. This has been episode 31 of Pure Michigan Sports. Drop that subscribe, hit the follow button. Christian Peck Dimmitt and Alex Dimel signing off. Until next time.